Well, I think the culture is a representation of the people you have and the systems, the processes, the organizational method, if you like, of how you go to market. The culture will be the people element of that. What are they doing? How do they respond? What are their expectations? How are they aligned? Because all of the behaviors and the performances will spill out of what that culture is about. So you have to have an eye on, what is the culture you need? Probably a better question than what is the culture you've got. What is the culture you need in terms of the aspirations and the targets you're setting yourself? The question I'd be thinking about is the culture relevant? And is it an optimum culture? So whether it's good or bad, it may well be the case, but is it optimum? Is the energy within the business or the group of people? It could be a sports team. You could have a culture within a team playing football or rugby or whatever the sport might be, and it's a winning culture. There's something about the way they think and the way they communicate, the way they engage with each other, that helps them to win, it helps them get the job done. And there are lots of different angles that you can come at it from. So I think, good or bad, I just say, is it working? Yeah, right now I've seen a lot around organisations we look at and we're working with, which is trying to get people to engage more with each other and in line with what the company's trying to achieve. It's very easy for a leadership team to be absolutely crystal clear on the vision of the business, on the strategy within the business. And part of their challenge is, how do we cascade that out? How do we get the wider community to understand it, to see it, to get it, and then to buy into it? Because if you can get those things in place, and if you have somebody that wants to be there, they know why they're there, so their why might be different to your why and different to the organization's why. But as long as they've got a why and it's important and purposeful, you've probably got somebody you can work with, and they are going to have an effect on people around them. And at a leadership level, at a management level, at a supervisory level, have you got those people aligned and in play? Because they're going to affect the wider community of the business. And the temperature check of the company, of the culture, will be, you can go into any individual, ask any of them without any forewarning, what are you doing and why are you doing it? And if they can answer that question and they're congruent and they're consistent, then you've probably got a culture that's aligned. Yeah, well, one is top down. I would suggest that you have to drive this top down. You can't have any cracks in leadership and in management that's having opposite views on what we should be doing around here. Nothing wrong with challenging the norm and challenging what we're doing, but in the right forum, in the right format, but then the communication is consistent. So there has to be a consistent communication strategy. There has to be an ability for the supervisors and the managers of people to do just that. Oftentimes people get promoted in business because they're good at what they did. And that could be a technical role, it could be back office or front office, but they're in that position because they've proven themselves at that capability. The challenge with that is that doesn't mean to say they're good at influencing, or that they're good at engaging with people, or they're good at giving feedback, timely feedback, that they're good at inspiring people to their performance. And all those slightly what you might have called soft skills, that are less tangible, are absolutely critical. And so many companies we're working with now are really addressing that. They're saying it's not enough just to offer somebody money. There isn't as much money to go around, we're all noticing, right? So if you want discretionary efforts, you've got to be inspiring them through different means. And part of that is to have somebody that's managing and supervising you that inspires you. And I don't mean, is motivated and noisy. Just someone that inspires you to do something that perhaps you don't even know you can do. And people want that. And if you or I were asked, do you want your manager to inspire you? You take one. I'd take a motivating manager over a demotivating manager. So I think people have to start thinking more than just their job role, that I have to be good at this task. When you're in that position of responsibility and opportunity to engage and lead others, you have to start thinking about the psychological elements to what brings somebody in, what draws them into your business and keeps them there. And at the same time then looking at your talent. You've got to look at who's playing what role. Have we got the right people in the right place? And understanding how to recruit them in, how to keep them and how to develop them. And you might call them, A players, for example. Have I got A players in every role? And an A player is just somebody who, a nice metaphor would be, if you take a high bar and you keep rising the bar until you get to a point where only 1 in 10 people will clear it 9 out of 10 times. You've got somebody in that role who's an A player. And, are you thinking about that? Because often people are in the wrong role. Good people, right? And they're underperforming, not because they're not relevant or valuable, but they're just not playing in the right position. It's a challenging one, and it's difficult. It's not an easy solution. You know, it's an easy question, but it's not an easy solution. And I think people have to, first of all, I think one of the opportunities right now with the world and all the change we've seen, I mean, maybe every generation says, oh, we experience change as well, and I'm sure that's probably true. We always think we're the one experiencing all the change. But change is a constant, it is a norm. And I think what, you know, people, and I say people because we can say companies, but that's a normalization. I mean, it's individual people that are going to manage this situation. And you know, people have to start accepting change is all right. You know, change is a good thing. You know, and most people, when you ask them, if the change is relevant and it's has a purpose, and they can see why it's happening, and they can experience that there are some potential challenges, but it leads to an upside. You know, if they can get their mind around that, then I think they're going to respond in a resourceful way more often than not. Not everybody, but enough people, and especially if they're in the right role. But I think there's that whole context. If I say, right, there's going to be some change, what happens to people? If their default's to go, oh, change, what? If that's the default, that's not right or wrong, but it's not helpful. And if I say, well, there's some change, and your default's to go, great, what is it? It doesn't mean we're going to do it, but I'm receptive to the idea. You know, my emotional state hasn't gone down. I'm just as enthused and engaged and confident and certain that we'll work out how to make this work for us. But often we'll see teams and coaches, and their default position will either be up or down. You know, I mean, you want to get to a point where you go, what's your desired response? What do you want people to respond? How do you want them to be? What do you want them to be doing? You know, what's their reaction going to be that you want in your business or in this team? And then you're going to think, well, how do we create that? What has to happen to make that happen? Okay, well, again, you clarify the why. You accept the fact that you may not like it. You know, you may not like the change, but it's necessary because the world is demanding. You know, markets shift. You know, customers want more. They want more for less. You know, so if you're in business, you got to understand that. And I mean that at every part of business. You know, senior leaders probably get that. But how do you get other people to go, yeah, I want to be in this company through time. I don't want to jump in and out of my, you know, we will move jobs, right? But I want to, while I'm here, I want to find a way to make it work for this organization and find out what can I gain for me during this process of change. It may be that I will move companies in some point in time, but if because of this change I'm more resilient because of it, because I'm more capable of communicating effectively, I'm more confident in my ability, I've learned new things, I've built another network of people. Because we changed, I had to go and engage with these people. Even if I go back to how I was before, or I move companies, I still have the network. I still have the skills I developed. You know, so I'm still more valuable in the marketplace. And I often say to people, you know, whatever's going on in the business, whatever the change is, if at the end of it you are better because of it, you are more capable, more able to handle change, you are more valuable. You are a more valuable commodity, right? And that's what you trade in life. You know, people say, I want to earn more money. You know, how do you earn more money? I say, well, work longer. Well, I don't know. That's minimal. That's incremental. If you want to really shift what you get out, you have to find a way to shift what you put in. It's a great analogy. Some years I remember reading about Tom Hanks, the actor. And for his first film, it took about 5 months to make the film. He got paid $20,000. Now he'll do a film, it probably takes 5 months, he'll get $20 million. Same amount of time he's putting in, he's in the same industry, in the same sector, but his income's significant. Why? Well, because he's more attractive. He brings more value to the market. You know, there's a perception around his brand that he will be useful in that context. Is that the case for you? You know, what's the brand? What's your brand? If I put up on the board, you know, individual faces, oh, Richard Branson, and I say, what words spring to mind? People go, oh, entrepreneur, you know, maverick, okay, successful. If I put up Mother Teresa, they go, oh, you know, socially conscious, you know, determined, persistent. Different, both leaders, right? Different way of leading, okay? The point is, if I put your face on the board, and I said, I had your team here, and I said, what words spring to mind when you see this person? They'll have some words. They'll have some words. The question is, are they the words you want? And if they're not, what are you going to do to change it? Right? Because that's your personal brand. And I think if you use change or the demand or the challenge you're getting in your company now to really build and develop your brand as an individual that you can handle the situation, wherever you operate, you're going to be bringing value.